Open Your Eyes is brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.
Good morning. Welcome to Open Your Eyes.
Start your morning right.
I'm Marlene Cuellar.
And I'm Asana Cayetano.
And thank you for joining us this morning.
It's the 1st of March. It is the beginning of a week that promises to be exciting, Marlene, one way or the other.
Yeah.
A lot's going to be taking place this week.
A whole lot will be taking place. It is a very busy week for us here. And we're going to start off with finding out about our weather, of course. I got to say, you know, I think anyone who knows me knows this is my favorite time of the year. It was like the switch was flipped on for the March breezes over the weekend, and I just hope it stays as long as possible. But we got Francisca on the line.
Good morning.
How are you today?
I'm good, and how about you too?
I am excellent. What a beautiful morning it is.
It is.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. I was just telling Isani, it's like someone went and flipped on the switch for the March breezes, and please tell me it'll be lingering around as much as it should.
It will.
Good. All right, let's talk about today then.
Okay, so fair weather conditions continue, and we'll see cloudy, sunny, mostly sunny skies today, partly cloudy skies tonight, and showers isolated. Okay, the winds have decreased a little bit, but we'll still get nice breeze today. Still out of the east and southeast, 10 to 20 knots. And we're still going for rough seas, and that's because we have high waves, 6 to 9 feet. It doesn't necessarily mean that the winds will be gusty, but we have very high waves, 6 to 9 feet.
Okay, so what's your advice for people headed out to sea?
No, we have a small craft warning still. And small craft, we're advising should remain in safe harbor.
All right. Very important warning there. Now let's talk about our temperatures.
Okay, still on the, I would say on the cool side, because we're only seeing 87 along the coast this afternoon, 91 inland, and 77 up in the Maya Mountains. And then overnight temperatures, 78 along the coast, 70 inland, and 65 up in the Maya Mountains.
Those are comfortable. And the next few days, what are we expecting?
We will continue to see the same trend. Easterly winds, 10 to 20 knots. Of course, the small craft warning will be dropped, I believe, by tomorrow. And we'll continue to see isolated showers.
All right. Are those in any part, a specific part of the country?
That's for the entire country.
Okay. All right. Well, very straightforward, and I'm happy to hear that we'll continue to have these nice days ahead.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Francisca.
You're welcome, and you have a good day too.
You too. All right.
Okay, bye-bye.
There you go.
Well, I'm looking forward to this kind of weather for the better part of the week.
Yeah.
As we were mentioning, with everything that's coming in the next few days, the best compliment is to have excellent weather to go along.
That's right.
Yep.
All right, we're going to get into some of those activities that are coming up in just a few, but let's get into some motivation for this morning. That means it's time for our eye opener. And our eye opener, taken from dailyom.com, goes like this. Our best chance of getting what we need is to communicate by converting our inner voice to our outside voice. Each of us has developed an internal filtering process that helps us choose which parts of our constant inner monologues get voiced outside of our heads. Sometimes the choice is based on what we consider to be polite or appropriate, using subtlety instead of directness to try to get our point across. Other times, the choice is made based on our expectations of the other person and what we feel they should know about us, our feelings, and our needs. When we have the courage to speak our minds, and use our voice to send the desires of our hearts from our inner world to the world outside, we take a bold step in making them happen. By removing fear of what others may think and expectation of what others should understand, we free ourselves and our thoughts from the bondage of the mental chamber and let loose our desires onto the canvas of the world. Next time we become aware that we have a choice about how to communicate, we can choose to use our outside voice and watch its creative power at work.
I think this is most fitting for persons who are not as vocally expressive as some of us are. I say that because oftentimes we think a certain kind of way, we feel a certain kind of way, but for whatever reason, we tend to not want to communicate that outwardly. Now, that's for persons who, for whatever reason, have their own reservations from sharing how they truly think or feel about an issue or about people. In my point of view, as someone who is extroverted and as someone who is outspoken, this comes fairly easy for me. If I think a certain kind of way, then I begin to hinge my emotional self around it, so to speak. And then I'm able to speak it. And I measure that as a sort of sincerity for me. Like, I don't shy away from how I feel. So because I don't shy away from how I feel, it's easier for me to just simply say it instead of, hiding behind how politically correct or how polite it might come across. It's a genuine state where this is how I feel and this is what I'm saying. And so the eye-opener to me speaks directly to being able to find that space and being able to do that.
Yeah. I think being able to gauge your own personal communication style and also to understand or at least recognize other people's communication style is so important in developing solid relationships or trusting relationships. The one that really stood out to me was talking about when you use subtlety instead of directness. And I find that very common, especially in relationships with your partner. You always feel they should know. They should know because of the time invested in the relationship. That's one of the common areas. But it happens in all other relationships that we have, from people who are mere acquaintances to friends to co-workers, and as I mentioned before, with people that you've had long-term relationships with. So I think when I pay attention to how other people communicate, it gives me some level of insight into how they prefer to be communicated to. And it can be hard, especially if you have a totally different style. Directness is something that can help a lot in bringing clarity, but directness also must be matched with timing, of course, and tact, because you can't always just blurt out exactly what you're thinking at the time that you want to say it. You also have to kind of gauge the atmosphere.
That's a delicate balance.
Yeah, it is. It is. And that's why it's a communication skill. It's not, something you naturally, you work on it, and we don't always get it right. But very often, you meet people sometimes who kind of just talk in circles. They're just, they're trying to find the nicest, softest, smoothest approach rather than just getting to it. And I think that's what comes to mind when I talk of, when I read the eye-opener this morning. How much it would help to kind of just move the scale a bit over to the other side, where you can simply communicate what it is that you're thinking or feeling.
I am the type of person, Marlene, I'd rather you give me direct as opposed to you're prevaricating or beating around the bush, and then the end result is never mind. That's the one thing that gets under my skin, because that person, that person feels a certain kind of way, is thinking something, but is reserving him or herself from actually saying how they feel, and so they just write it off by saying, never mind. That's the worst one. I find that probing helps, just kind of asking a few more questions, because if you recognize that that's their style, they're not just going to jump to the other side immediately. So that requires
probing,
patience, though.
And it depends on the importance of the relationship as well.
that's true.
So if it's just a passing by acquaintance, how much time are you going to invest? But if it's a relationship that must be nurtured, then you got to put in that work.
Fair
So yeah, so that's eye opener for today. A great message as we start off this work week. But there is a lot to get into. Of course, we're shifting gears now into Eye on the News.
So as we mentioned earlier, it's the beginning of a new month, and from a broad perspective, there's a lot that's going to take place in the month of March. Before we get into what's going to happen this week and today, it's also to say that this is budget month, so to speak, right? So a lot of planning, consultation, crunching numbers, all of that will be taking place throughout the course of this month before the Briceño administration takes to Parliament what will be the financial plan for the year 2021, which commences on April 1st. So that's from a broad point of view. That's what we're looking at in terms of March in the next few weeks or so, right?
Well, definitely within the next two, because the budget debate has to be held before the start of the financial year as well.
Yeah, so there's a presentation, and then both sides go and mull over everything, and then they come back and debate it, and then there's a passage, right? So, like I said, that is in the immediate future, so to speak. Beyond that, however, this week is elections week. And so there has been quite a number of developments that has taken place over the past week alone, right? We know that the opposition, the United Democratic Party, is challenging the candidacy of the incumbent mayor for Belize City, Bernard Wagner. And the Supreme Court will give that particular claim an audience today to test whether or not his candidacy stands, or he will be disqualified from participating in the municipal elections for Wednesday. Now, just a bit of a background. As I mentioned earlier, he's a sitting mayor. He is a resident of Los Lagos, which is a community on the outskirts of Ladyville. It's not even like to say he's Belize City, then Ladyville. Los Lagos is sort of on the fringes of that. But nonetheless, if it may have been overlooked in the first instance, right, or no attention was paid to it, then this time around, that is part of the argument that the opposition is putting forward. That, you know what, this person doesn't live in Belize City, and they have mentioned certain aspects of the law where it concerns I'm trying to find the best way to explain it here.
So they're separate acts that govern municipal elections. In fact, I think we had the Chief Elections Officer, Tamai, speak on this issue prior to this particular court matter, where she spoke of each act specifically outlining who can be eligible. And she spoke of the Belize City Act that was different from those that you're seeing in other municipalities. When she was asked that question, it may have been a week or two ago, because this has been a murmur for a while, she had said that the Belize City Act, in fact, did allow for the incumbent mayor to run again. However...
Which would have validated his candidacy.
Yes,
right?
because he was accepted at nomination, which means there was some vetting that took place then, which is what makes today's case even more interesting, because it seems that the UDP seems to feel, or the opposition seems to feel, that they have a valid case. However, we do have to be fair and say that this is all par for the course with politicking as well.
Certainly.
Yeah.
So yes, so that's what we're looking at today, right? And so, like I said, the Supreme Court will hear the matter today, and I believe simply because March 3rd is less than 2 days away, everything will be expedited in terms of a decision to be rendered based on what is presented before the court today. right? So that's the first thing. And now that carries over into, whatever the outcome is, it carries over into Wednesday. And of course, I'll take this opportunity to speak about our coverage of the municipal elections on Wednesday. So as is normal for us here at Channel 5, our coverage begins at 6 o'clock. We have correspondents across all 9 municipalities, and we're geared up and ready to go insofar as bringing you the play-by-play of the votes being cast, and of course the counting process, and of course the winners, right? So we're looking at 9 municipalities from Corozal all the way down to Punta Gorda, including San Pedro, the Twin Towns, and Benquevejo out west, right? And like I mentioned, we will be having up-to-the-minute coverage insofar as where we are with the numbers of voters, the turnout, the overall political analyses of what's taking place in each of those particular towns and cities. And so that can be expected from us here at Channel 5 on Wednesday. All of Wednesday until the last ballot is counted, Marlene.
Which will probably be a bit late. Municipal elections tend to run a bit later than general elections. We also want to note that there is the by-election that's going to be held in Corozal as well. So our correspondent out there, Dwayne Moody, who usually covers Corozal, has already been doing the groundwork and visited some of the campaigns. So that's going to be an even bigger day for residents within Corozal as well, as many of the residents within that area will participate in 2 elections, the by-election to select a new representative, as well as their town council.
So that's without preempting whatever conversation there is in the other part of the show. The other thing that I wanted to bring up, Marlene, is the fact that the first batch of vaccine is here, right? And so we're waiting for the Ministry of Health to kind of share with us what's to happen next. I know that the Ministry of Health and Wellness is in full procurement mode. They're looking at all the options available to them to be able to get as much vaccines as they can so that the citizens of Belize can get inoculated in the fight against COVID-19. One of the questions that I had, though, and this is interesting because it comes from a conversation that I had on the way to work, in terms of when you look at what's happening in other jurisdictions. For instance, if you look at the United States, there are people who are skeptical of the whole vaccine process. There are certain theories, and there are those who are promoting it that kind of way. So my thought or my question would be, so where does the government and of course the respective ministers, the cabinet, fall within the rollout of the vaccines, right? You would want to think that perhaps there should be a public face to say, well, I am being vaccinated against COVID-19 and there shouldn't be any worry about, any of the other theories that are going out. There's something that says, you know what, this is the particular campaign that we're embarking upon so that we can convince as many Belizeans when we do receive that proper number of vaccines that we can move forward with the process.
That's a tough one. That's a tough one. There we have that image again of the first 1,000. This is such, I'm so happy when I see this particular moment, just because we saw it happen in all other parts of the world.
We were waiting patiently for it.
Yeah. Second to that, the second most powerful image is the person who receives the first vaccine in the country. And you're right. I think there is some vaccine skepticism that seems to be building in the public. I've heard of others speaking about who will be the first. The Ministry of Health has in fact already pointed out that the first batch of vaccines, that 1,000, which is actually 500 doses, because it's AstraZeneca, which means you have to get 2 shots. So 500 people would receive that vaccine, and they've already stated that the first people to get it will be those healthcare workers who are working directly with COVID-19 patients, both in the private sector and public sector. This follows very much on trend with what is happening and what is recommended globally by health officials, for the simple fact that if you have the people who will be caring for those who are sick with COVID-19 protected, then you don't have to worry about whether or not people can access care as we move forward with the rollout of the vaccine schedule.
Yeah.
As to when it would be a touchy thing, because then if you do give government officials first, who aren't necessarily, they aren't all
the
within
front
the
line.
vulnerability, vulnerable populations. So, I'm sure there would be some issue there as well. And it's important too that we pay attention to the science, and that's what we try to do in keeping people educated.
Yeah.
The other part, though, I think, which is also a big development for vaccines, is that the Food and Drug Administration in the United States actually approved the use for the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, which is a big step for the United States. No direct, well, the only implication here is really looking at the fact that the Johnson & Johnson vaccine is a single dose vaccine.
Yeah.
So let's say, for example, you get 500. You don't have to split that by 2. That's 500 more people that can be vaccinated. So that's a positive development in terms of the global scheme of things. And then Minister Shabat, I know, told our news team on Friday that the allocation letter came in from the COVAX facility,
Yes.
which is
Yes.
something that was important for us to know as to how many vaccines we are going to get through the COVAX facility. And they are saying it's going to be 100,800 doses, which again, because it's AstraZeneca, is actually divided by 2, which is about over 50,000 vaccines, persons who can get vaccinated. One of the questions I do have with that is looking at what that first shipment will be. So I know we've talked with PAHO officials here, and they've spoken of, the COVAX facility. While you do get one full allocation, it's given in batches. So how much is that first batch going to be? Is it, I think, 18%? There was a percentage that they had floated. I don't remember the precise number.
That's partly the issue here, is that we've been hearing numbers and dates, but it seems to be a moving target, so to speak, right? So I think we would need some sort of definitive position taken by the ministry insofar as an actual timetable for the planned rollout of whatever vaccine we're able to procure.
Yeah. So the first batch for the COVAX facility, we keep on hearing end of March, early April. And there's a press conference today where I'm sure we'll get a lot of clarity on this as well. And one of the key questions is to find out how much of that 100,000 plus will actually arrive in the first batch. Because as far as it's been explained to us, it's not that you get your full allocation in one batch. You get piece by piece as you move forward. So, but this is all, when you look at it in the grander scheme of things. You spoke of the budget, and we talked so much with different sectors as to how they've been affected by the pandemic. This is such a crucial milestone for us that we're moving into the vaccination rollout, because it means that, we can start moving forward in getting the economy going again and cutting down on many of the regulations that are in place. Not right now, but eventually.
Well, I'm glad that you brought that up, because in the context of the COVID conversation that we're having, with a new month, we're looking at what further measures the government will either put in place or relax in respect of COVID. And so we're anticipating, if not already, a new statutory instrument that would speak to what those proposed changes are going forward.
So I believe the SI that started the beginning of February ends the day before election, so we need to find out what the new regulations are going to be. Minister of Home Affairs, Honorable Karim Musa, did say that he expects that the curfew would continue. What specific times would be designated as we move into March, we don't know as yet, but we do know certain things. We do know we're going to keep on doing masks, wearing masks. We do know there's going to be social distancing. We do know that crowds in general are discouraged. And that social distancing and sanitizing are key in keeping ourselves protected.
Well, those aren't going anywhere, Marlene. Not anytime soon. And when you look at some of the projections from other experts in the medical field, we're looking perhaps at 2022 at the very earliest to start doing away with some of those measures that we have in place right now. But on the local front, as you mentioned, in the media last week, the Minister of Home Affairs had indicated, in fact, that the curfew remains in place for the most part, but there may be considerations for the relaxing of other measures that are presently in place as we continue to mitigate the spread of coronavirus in this country.
Yeah. Well, you know, I think if we follow science and if we follow the advice of some of the global health authorities, you know, there's a resounding call to not relax your measures too quickly. We do know that the UK variant was detected or confirmed to be in the country last week. And that's also something I think that perhaps will be a part of the discussion at the press conference today, because the actual swab took place in January. So what kind of mitigating efforts have taken place? And do we have to be concerned that perhaps the strain is circulating at this time?
Yeah.
There was a notable spike that took place after last election in November. And so I do hope that as we move into elections on Wednesday, that we keep that in mind and that we follow through with all protocols that are established for our collective safety.
Which, if you ask me, and I'm hoping that the police department will also speak on it today, victory parties and rallies are not necessary.
That was disappointing when we saw that in November. So let's hope the lesson is learned there.
So okay, so that rounds out our discussion on some of the stories that we can expect from our newscast today and some of the stories that we're looking forward to in the weeks ahead as we go through the month of March. So these stories and others you can catch at 6 o'clock on News 5 Live, or you can catch us online via Facebook, where we'll be streaming our newscast as well.
All right, and we're going to get ready to move into our show for today, and it's our lead up to the municipal elections 2021 and our full day coverage on Wednesday. We've been introducing you to the mayoral candidates from all 9 municipalities over the past few weeks. Of course, we do have mayoral candidates for Belize City. They will be on air tomorrow for that interview before the election. But today, we're going to shift from municipal elections to the upcoming by-election that's going to be held in Corozal Bay. And we're going to be meeting both of the candidates that are on the ballot. We'll have our first conversation with the People's United Party candidate, Elvia Vega Samos, and then we'll be joined by Gilberto Campos, who is the United Democratic Party candidate.
And of course, this is Women's Month, and so we'll be discussing issues affecting women in commemoration of the month, right? So we'll have a panel of 3 persons with us, and we're going to be discussing all things in terms of issues and achievements of women in the month of March. That's going to be our 3rd conversation.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and get ready to move into that show, but before we do, we got a birthday shout out, and today we are saying happy birthday to
Estelle Tun Armstrong. There she is. Happy birthday, Estelle.
Do have a great day. That comes from all of us here at Channel 5 and Open Your Eyes. Now we're going to take that break, and when we come back, you're going to meet one of the candidates for Corozal Bay. So please stay tuned.
Hello. Okay, sure, I'll be there. Hello?
Hi, Mommy. When are you coming home? I really miss you.
Hearing the voice of our loved ones can always lift our spirits and make us feel whole again. With Smart's twice as nice promotion, prepaid customers who make 5 minutes worth of national calls on Sundays can enjoy 50% off. Top double on all national calls for the rest of the day. Call your loved ones and enjoy half off all day long. Smart, bringing people together.
As one of the largest cable and internet providers in Belize, CBC strives to provide our customers with the highest standards of quality, value, and service in all aspects of cable TV and internet. Monitoring our systems closely, our technicians combine creative planning and state-of-the-art technology with years of experience and training to develop and provide the most reliable and advanced cable and internet service to exceed your expectations. For CBC and our team of talented engineers, technicians, and customer service representatives, delivering less than the very best is never an option.
In these challenging times, the one thing that is certain is that the Belize Bank Limited is here for you. There is nothing more important than your health and safety, and we continue to make every effort to make banking safer for you. Our staff is working around the clock to make sure you can do your banking conveniently 24/7 using our mobile banking app and online banking and keeping ATMs up and running. We value your relationship with us and are here to provide the support you need. First responders are also out there 24/7. Thank you, healthcare workers, security forces, firefighters, caregivers. You are all appreciated. Stay safe. We will get through this together. The Belize Bank, our country, your bank.
Belizeans will once again go to the polls on March 3rd for municipal elections 2021. Channel 5 will bring you all-day live coverage from all 9 municipalities. Our nationwide correspondents and in-studio analysts will provide you with up-to-date reports and commentary from 6 a.m. until the last vote is counted and results declared. Municipal Elections 2021, Wednesday, March 3rd, live on Channel 5 and on our Facebook and YouTube pages.
And welcome back. We're getting into our first conversation of the morning. As we mentioned to you just before we took the commercial break, our initial conversation to open the show today will be with the PUP standard bearer for Corozal Bay, and she is one of 2 candidates that will be contesting the seat left vacant by David Dido Vega, who unfortunately passed away from coronavirus in December of last year. And so we have with us this morning his younger sibling, his sister, Elvia Vega Samos. Good morning, Elvia.
Good morning, Isani. How are you? Good morning, Marlene. It's a pleasure being with you guys.
All right, we're good. We're as excited as you are. You are running, we are covering. So we want to get from you, first of all, the feeling of having offered yourself as a candidate to run for Corozal Bay in the wake of a tragic incident that befell your family.
Well, Isani, my brother, may he rest in peace. He had so many plans for Corozal. He had so much love for his people. I know the love that the people had for him as well. I decided to step up to the plate because Corozal needs proper representation at Belmopan, and I believe that I have the ability, I have the skills to represent the people of Corozal Bay. I will be their voice, I will be their ears, I will be there for them. So I truly believe that it is time for Corozal to get the attention that they truly deserve, Isani.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, because I think it's one of the first questions that comes to my mind, right? Do you feel as if though perhaps while running in place of your brother, that perhaps this creates a sort of David and Goliath kind of situation where it's your foray into electoral politics, but the person you're running against is someone who one would consider a seasoned politician?
Honestly, Isani, I don't see it in that manner.
Okay.
Yes. Well, since you asked the question, I'm going to answer it. because my campaign has been a positive campaign, but I don't see it as a David and Goliath. And let me tell you why, Isani. Yes, my opponent won several times, but the manner in which he left the town council was in total disarray. You know, so many things went missing. And he was even involved recently, I don't know if you're keeping up with the news, but he was recently involved in the land scandal with Kruger Pat. So the whole while, yes, that he was winning, the people were not aware of what was happening behind the scenes. So when you say that, I beg to differ there with you, Isani. The people are intelligent. The people have realized that it is time to get somebody who will represent them with integrity and who has genuine love for them, Isani. And that is no other than Elvia Vega Samos, your humble servant.
Elvia, your decision to put yourself forward as the PUP candidate, I think it's interesting because what a lot of people don't know is that you were actually the lead campaigner. You were on the ground going out and rallying the votes for your brother. And this is a very common situation. We have a woman at the lead of the campaign itself, very often for another candidate. So it is, I think, a critical point for us to talk about what it was like for you to make the decision from being the person on the ground to being the face and name and representative.
Okay, Marlene, very good question, Marlene. At the beginning, you know, when my brother just passed away, I was mourning. It was a very tough decision. However, I believe that it was important to step up and continue what he started because, like I said before, Marlene, Corozal Bay deserves better. We are the second poorest district in the country. We have been abandoned for 12 years, Marlene, you know, and that is what motivated me. You know, Elvie, this is the time for you to stand up and represent the people. You know, the people deserve better in Corozal Bay. And that the people are my driving force, Marlene.
And from your campaigns, what are some of the things, I mean, the campaigns before November 11th and the campaigns you've been doing now, how similar or different are your messages?
The message is very similar, Marlene. You know, in the previous campaigns, and now the people are clamoring for change. The people deserve better, Marlene. You know, many times as politicians, you know, once you get the position, you tend to forget about the people. And I've mentioned this in many of my interviews. You know, the people are our bosses and not the other way around. We are there to represent them. And so during the campaign, you know, I sit down with them, I consult with them, I find out what are their needs, and their needs are very similar as to when my brother was on the campaign trail. You know, they're clamoring for change. They don't want, Marlene, they don't want the government to fully help them, you know. What they really want is a shift in priorities. You know, once we are able to prioritize and give them the needs that they have and let them be able to sustain themselves, then that is when change will come to Corozal Bay. You know, just a little shift in priorities, Marlene.
So you've spoken,
you know, and yes, go ahead.
So you've spoken with as many residents as possible on the campaign trail. What is perhaps one of the most resounding concern or issue that has been presented to you as you do your door-to-door?
One of the most resounding issue is jobs. You know, under the previous government, the papaya industry was closed down. The Corozal Free Zone was closed down. Thankfully, under the PUP government, you know, Honorable John Briceño has allowed for the Corozal Free Zone to be open, and this has been an asset for the people of Corozal Bay, you know, with jobs, because they not having the jobs for the past months really affected the families. Now, jobs is one of the main things that they're clamoring for. You know, I believe, Isani, that we must empower our people. You know, a good leader is somebody that is there to lead the rest together, being a win-win person. It's not having somebody at the front and everybody else at the back waiting, it's being somebody who can empower others. And so this with job, I believe there are so many opportunities here in Corozal Bay to create jobs. We can attract the telemarketing companies. We are bilingual. We speak both English and Spanish. Another way is when the government rolls out projects, we can have the people here in Corozal getting those contracts and not having people from other districts come in and get the jobs, because the people in Corozal need these jobs. Another way, Isani, is having more programs in place at the IT Vet entrepreneurship, where the people can be able to open their own business and not have to depend on the government, So there are so many ways, Isani, so many creative ways that we can have jobs for our Corozaleños. It's just having them at heart, Isani. That is what makes the whole difference.
Yeah. Now, when you look at the challenges within the constituency within Corozal Bay, you're talking about some of the issues that have come about as a result of COVID, but some of the other issues have been there lingering for some time. As a border community, it is often very hard to promote and push development within your area because it's so easily accessible across the border. What are some of your ideas to be able to develop Corozal into an area where people will either access for tourism or where residents themselves will feel safe investing?
Okay, very good question, Marlene. Like you rightly mentioned, Corozal, these problems have been there in the past 12 years as well. I believe that Corozal has a lot of untapped potential, and the previous government did not make good use of all the resources that we have. We have the Mayan temples, Santa Rita. We have the bay, the Corozal Bay. That beautiful bay when you come into Corozal. Everybody keeps saying, as they drive into Corozal, the beautiful scenery there. So I believe that we need to make use of the bay. There is a project that we could do right by the bay, where we could have a place where people would actually stop instead of just going straight to Chetumal. Stop and we could have beautiful attractions right on the bay. We could even have little areas where people could buy cultural stuff. We could have little restaurants there right at the entrance of Corozal. They have an area right in front of the Hotel Maya that is right there, abandoned. And so, when I think about all the potential that Corozal has, Marlene, I'm so eager to start working and to make a change for our Corozaleños. But the main thing, what I'm trying to say, Marlene, is that we have untapped potential, and we need to make use of it immediately. We need to get people to stop in Corozal and to enjoy the time here and to want to stay overnight. So in making use of our bay, having chartered trips, having trips where they could go over to Sarteneja and view the temple there as well, the Mayan temple. We have our Santa Rita Mayan temple right here in Corozal that we don't have anything happening there. There is so much potential here in Corozal, Marlene, and it's time that we give attention to our Corozal.
So while we respect the position that you're taking in terms of realizing and recognizing that there's this untapped potential, I get from you that you're promoting the idea of tourism, sparking some kind of life insofar as leisure travel and what have you to Corozal. But in the middle of a pandemic and the fact that we're still facing very difficult economic times, how would you see something like this getting off the ground? You only have a 5-year mandate should you be elected to office.
Well, Isani, with the vaccine coming into play now, I believe that there will be a change, a shift in the tourism, a shift in people being able to go back to school, people being able to go back to work. I truly believe that having this vaccine coming here to Belize will make a big difference and will actually help for this tourism to be able to boom and all the other plans that we have for Belize.
Yeah. Now, in addition to being able to address or to build on the tourism product there, one of the other issues, as you noted, is unemployment. And the unemployment doesn't only come from closure of businesses within Corozal, but in fact, a lot of Corozaleños would be employed in some of the tourist destinations. They travel to San Pedro primarily, but other tourist locations as well to work. So you're looking at people who have been out of work for a very long time. Tell me some of the concerns that you hear from residents and what their expectations are if you're elected.
Okay, Marlene. Apart from jobs and tourism, like you rightly mentioned, a major concern, Marlene, is land. You know, most of our Corozaleños do not own a piece of land. You know, they've been renting their whole life. Now, having the PUP now, the PUP government, you know, I am really thankful, you know, that we've brought in the first time land ownership into play. And the people are looking forward to that, Marlene. You know, along with that, I had mentioned to them as well that we could have a studio style houses that could be made available for them. And of course, the people would be paying for this on their own, you know, instead of paying a monthly rent, that same money that they would be using to pay their rent, they would then be using to pay this house, which on the longer run will be for them. You know, so the people are very excited about this. You know, I am not making false promises to them, Marlene. I believe that our basic needs must be satisfied before we can think about having needs about the infrastructure and other things. Of course, those things are very important as well. But once we are able to satisfy the people's basic needs, then they're able to stand up on their feet and be independent. And when I say basic needs, Marlene, I'm talking about the land ownership that I mentioned. I'm talking about food, you know, having your food available for you, the shelter. So once we are able to empower our people and not have them having to depend on the government, you know, then we can make a huge change for our Corozaleños. Mm-hmm. You know, Marlene, so that when it comes to jobs, they've been clamoring for jobs. Mm-hmm. You mentioned the tourism. I also mentioned the land, you know, first time land owners, the studio style houses. We also have as well an education, Marlene. You know, for us to empower our people, we need to educate them. And my mother always said, LV, education is the greatest equalizer. Mm-hmm. You know, Isani and Marlene, it really pains my heart when I'm on the campaign trail and I notice the 4.00 student, you know, who has the ambition, who has the drive to do good in school, but the parents cannot send them to school due to finance. You know, I feel for the single mother who does not have the money to pay her next monthly rent. You know, I feel for the elderly who don't have access to medication. Now that makes me poor as well, Marlene. You know, we must be our brother's keeper. We must be there looking out for each other. And I believe that this platform enables me to do more for them.
Mm-hmm. All right, we're just having a little bit of a break in transmission, but you're still there with us, right?
Yes, okay. Marlene, I'm here.
Great. So I do want to get one question. While I know, I hear you.
Yes, as I was.
Go ahead.
Sure.
Finish up. Elvie, are you still there? We may have lost the connection there for a moment. Let's just give it a few moments to see. Of course, this is a part of what television is like in the time of a pandemic. We'll try to get her reconnected just for the final 5 minutes. But we have been having a conversation with the People's United Party candidate for Corozal Bay, as we know, on Wednesday, while across the country people are going to vote for town council and city councils. In Corozal, there will also be an election for their representative with the passing of David Dido Vega, who was elected on November 11th. Elvie, you're back with us, right?
Yes, I am.
All right. So great.
Here's that somebody was calling me and then it kicked me out.
Tell them you're busy with Open Your Eyes.
Yes.
But I do want to get into one thing. I know you said that you have been trying to run your campaign, a positive campaign, very admirable, something very tough to do in the current political climate in Belize. But this particular race is a critical one, and I want to ask your opinion on it. Many see the municipal election, and definitely the Corozal Bay by-election, as a possible litmus test for how people feel and respond to what the current administration has been doing for the past 3 months. Do you get that feeling as well, and how do you weigh in? I mean, it's an important election for the opposition, but it is equally an important election for your party, and not just for the residents of Corozal Bay, but for what it portrays in terms of the response to decisions by the current administration.
Marlene, my apologies. Can you repeat that question, please?
And it was a long one. But let me just ask you quickly. Do you think, or do you get the feeling that there is additional political pressure for the by-election because who comes out as the representative is also an indicator, or could be an indicator, as to how people feel since the change of administration? Oh,
Right, having signal issues.
Just, yeah. Elvie? I think we lost it again.
So I guess to reiterate some of the
Yeah.
points that she was making earlier, it's about the economic situation in Corozal, at least for her. And being able to turn things around from an economic point of view would allow for job creation. It would allow for other investments to be made, considering the fact that, as she mentioned earlier, quite a number of the industries that were once established in Corozal have since, gone dry, so to speak, which included papaya and other areas of either agriculture or industry. So I think for her, seeing as though we're having this conversation with her in the first instance, I think for her it's quite a lot to take in should she be elected, Marlene, considering the fact that, as I mentioned, you only have 5 years and there are all these challenges that are before us at the moment. Yeah. So how do you kind of turn things around within that span of time?
Well, I guess that was the task that all representatives took on when they were elected. But we do have Elvie back on the screen with us. So
yes, I got another phone call. I'm so sorry about that.
That's okay. I'm glad that we got you back, because I don't want to lose the opportunity to finish up the conversation. Just adjust your screen for us. Yeah. So Elvie, can you hear me?
Yes, Marlene, right and clear.
You still need to adjust your screen.
Let me just ask you very quickly, one of the things that people are paying attention to in the Corozal Bay by-election, it is equally important for the opposition as it is for your party, because many see it as a test or a litmus test as to how people feel about the change of administration. Do you get that sense from residents in Corozal Bay?
Marlene, honestly, we're talking about 100 days and we're talking about 12 years. The people in Corozal Bay realize that in the 100 days that the PUP government has been in, they are trying their best to do with what they have, compared to the 12 years of all the abandonment that was here in Corozal Bay. No attention was being given to the Corozaleños. And so the people are very intelligent, Marlene, and I truly believe that they don't see it as a litmus test like you mentioned. However, they see it as hope. 100 days have passed. The government has done a lot in the 100 days, and there is more to come, Marlene. And this is what I've been getting from the Corozaleños. Elvie, we can't compare 100 days to 12 years of abandonment. So the people of Corozal Bay truly have hope, and they know that I am here for them, and I know that I have genuine love for them, and so they have hope, Marlene. And like it's always been said, hope is the last thing we should lose. So just to emphasize, 100 days compared to 12 years, I don't think I need to say more, Marlene.
That's fair. Okay, so let's get something a little lighter from you at this point. You have 2 days remaining, more or less. How are you feeling? I know that for some it would be a nail biter, as the time draws near. How are you feeling right now? What's your personal sense of looking at what you've done during the campaign time and what you expect from the people on Wednesday?
Thank you, Isani. I'm feeling good. However, I must say that I do not take the people for granted. I have been on the campaign trail the past 3 weeks, 4 weeks. And you can ask the people around me, it has been from the morning to the night. I have been trying my very best to reach each and every person, and I don't look at color, Marlene, at political affiliation. When I'm campaigning, I won't say, I won't go to that house because it's a party from the opposing political party, right? I don't do that. I try to visit each and every person, and I try to listen to their concerns, and I consult with them. So I'm very excited, Misani. I am looking forward to Wednesday, and I know that on November 11th, we delivered with the help of the people, of course. And I know that God first, this Wednesday, we will deliver as well on March 3rd. And not only for the by-election, but also for the municipal elections. Yeah. So I am excited, Isani. I am really looking forward to Wednesday. I am, and I know the people are looking forward to Wednesday as well. To have a female to represent them in Belmopan, a female that has a caring heart, a female that comes with integrity, a female that is willing to stand up for them, a female that will bring change to Corozal. Isani, I always say, we must do what we ought to do and not what we want to do. This is for the people. I am here for them. I'm not here for LV. I am not here for any popularity. I am here to represent them and to represent them with integrity and with how they truly deserve to be represented, Isani.
My final question to you, LV. I gather that at this point you've tied down all the nuts and bolts for Wednesday in terms of what we call your campaign and your political machinery, right?
Yes. The machinery is oiled up, Isani. The machinery is ready to go. We have outstanding people behind the scenes, people that go the extra mile, and I am very grateful for them. They did it for my brother, and they are willing to do it again. And it's all for the purpose of helping our Corozaleños. We have the people at heart, and we want change. We deserve change.
Well, Elvi, we are grateful that you joined us this morning. We know that Wednesday is a big day. We'll have our crew out there giving us the play-by-play, giving all our viewers the play-by-play. And of course, in best of luck. But also, most importantly, stay safe.
Thanks, Marlene. Thank you.
All right.
And thank you for having me on your show. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate the time. And I just want, if I can, if you permit me, I'd just like to speak to the Corozaleños. Thank you for having me in your homes. Thank you for believing in me. And I can assure you that change is coming to Corozal. So I humbly ask you that on Wednesday, March 3rd, 2021, we make history for Corozal Bay, and we send a female to Belmopan. As a female, I believe I have the qualities that a man has. I have all the abilities. It's not only a man's world, it's a woman's world as well. So I humbly ask you that on Wednesday, March 3rd, you give me that opportunity, and you also give the Mayor Rigo Veos and his slate the opportunity to serve you, with the limited resources that he had. And with the pending bills that were left in the Corozal Town Council, he did a lot. So give us that opportunity to represent you the way you truly deserve to be represented. Thank you, guys, and may God bless us all.
All right. So with that, we go to a commercial break, and when we return, it's to have the other candidate for Corozal Bay to join us as he puts forward what some of his experiences on the campaign trail has been like over the past several weeks. So stay tuned.
Technology is ubiquitous, and it's transforming how, when, and where we work. Fulltech Systems is placing award-winning devices in the hands of information workers, allowing them to work without compromise in a world without wires, to innovate, create, and to maximize productivity anytime, anywhere, satisfying the needs of the desk-centric remote and field worker and every other worker in between. We are providing the industry's best devices to businesses going through the process of digital transformation. Partner with us today to provide the solutions that will allow your employees to work effectively and efficiently to enhance your customers' experience. Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service.
Caused the intense flooding overnight in the western and southern parts of the country.
Yeah?
Do we need to renew the insurance policy?
The insurance policy?
Were impassable.
Oh, let me check.
Renew your policies, file a claim, and even send us a message using RFNG online.
Now we're good. It says we're covered.
Okay, great.
It pays to get it right with RFNG Insurance, a road group company.
If we are only as strong as our families, businesses, institutions, and the communities that surround us, then by giving businesses the power to grow, entrepreneurs the ability to expand, and by giving our families the right to own something, the Belize Bank gives you the power to build a nation, our nation. We are stronger together. The Belize Bank, our country, your bank.
And welcome back. Our second conversation is the other side of that political coin, in a manner of speaking. We had before the break the PUP's candidate for the Corozal Bay by-elections. We have now the United Democratic Party's candidate. He's also been a four-time mayor of Corozal Town, and he's now running as a standard bearer for Corozal Bay. Good morning, Mr. Gilberto Campos.
Hey, good morning, Isani. Good morning, Marlene. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to be on this program once more. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Let's begin from a general perspective by talking about your campaign efforts. It's slightly different this time around, considering the fact that you're not running for a mayoral position, but to represent Corozal Bay in the House of Representatives. Let's talk about what that experience has been like for you, considering the fact as well that you've been sort of on a hiatus from electoral politics.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've done the house campaign. I would probably say 6-7 years that I hadn't been on that campaign trail as active as now, which is house-to-house campaigning is always the key to success to any political any person seeking political office. This time it was a very sudden and unfortunate incident that happened. I had no idea. I didn't have the intention to be on the forefront of electoral politics once again so quick. Yes, I had the intention to seek political office in the future. However, the unfortunate circumstances have been here with an opportunity to offer myself to serve the people of my town, or in this case it will be of Corozal Bay. But the house-to-house campaign has been very interesting. We have been on the ground along. I have the fortune and the luck of being along with the slate that is contesting the municipal election, something that I'm very familiar with, and it has been very good so far. We have a very energetic team, and working together, we have canvassed, I would believe, approximately 95 to almost 100% of the houses in Corozal Bay.
Now, yours is a rather unique situation in that while the area representative who was elected on November 11th is from the People's United Party, he did not really get to serve his people because of this unfortunate situation that has us here. So one would say then that your immediate predecessor in that particular case is a former United Democratic Party area representative. Now, that being the case, you're canvassing all of these homes and speaking with residents. What has been their primary concern for Corozal Bay?
You're right about the very sudden and very unforeseen circumstances that came up on us with the past area representative. And in this case, if you would consider my predecessor, the former minister before that, the concerns are at this moment are a little bit different. The fact that Gilberto Campos' name is on the ballot, and that we have about 100, a little bit over 100 days of a new administration, which was elected by an overwhelming margin and throughout the entire country. It was a very overwhelming victory for the PUP, and as such, as intelligent people, we have to admit that and accept that. It was the decision of the people of Belize and in turn of Corozal Bay. However, it is of the opinion, I am of the opinion, and with the Corozal Bay residents that I'm visiting, that somewhere or the other, the judgment will be passed here on March 3rd. And it is unfortunate, but at the same time, the Constitution gives us an opportunity to elect a new area representative, one that will be sent to Belmopan to represent them based on the unpopularity that has been achieved by this present administration. And that is the message. I cannot put it any better than that. It is plain and straight. I've been meeting on the campaign trail comments as such that if the majority of the PUP seats are won throughout the country when it comes to the municipalities, then Belizeans will have to actually take whatever comes their way with this present administration. It's not a news, or it's no news if I want to go into criticisms and say talk about levels of, or the highest levels of nepotism ever seen, if we want to talk about the cutting down of CXCs. But these are the issues that I'm being faced with. These are the comments of the people of Corozal Bay. And if you combine the wrong decisions made by this present administration, along with the fact that someone that has had a very good relationship with the electorate here in Corozal Bay is offering himself to serve them, then we have a very high possibility of the people of Corozal Bay sending a message to the government of Belize, to the new administration, rather than any predecessor or any worse than before.
Gilberto, what has it been like for you to head out onto the campaign trail? You've only had about 2 months to do so since you weren't on the ballot in the November 11th election. How do you play catch up in such a short time?
Yes, you're right. It is going to be. It is a very hard task. 2 months is a very limited, small amount of time for me to achieve what I want to do. It didn't really give me an opportunity to form any campaign structure. However, I will mention to you and to Sani that my campaign is based on the 12 years relationship that I had with the people of Corozal Tongue, and Corozal B is within the Tongue limits, meaning that the history that I have in the way I had run my administration, which is my pride and joy. I remember in the 2013, in that area, when we were convincing the World Bank to reinvest back into Belize. I want to say that, and the Corozalians are well aware of this, that UNDP, CIF, World Bank, UNICEF, the different international organizations were actually had us under a microscope, and Corozal was the #1 municipality when it came to accountability and transparency. And this is not just something that I mentioned, this is well documented. And the people of Corozal were well aware of this situation. One of the hallmark of my administration was the fact that we would always have consultations, public consultations. It didn't matter, any decision made at the council level was always put up to proper consultation with the people of Corozal. And that alone gives me that leverage over any opponent or any political party. I have this relationship that I established with the people. I have different accomplishments when it comes to what we delivered during these 12 years. Winning the cleanest municipality from the organizations such as Love Foundation and different around the country. So it's not something that I am not completely new. Yes, I had a time about over 6 years that I didn't hit the campaign trail. When in 2018, when I decided not to contest in my mayoral candidacy, then of course I gave way to some new people to bring forth new ideas at the municipal level. And of course, I think I mentioned it to Green Moody, Channel 5, my last interview that I gave, that I will always be available to serve in any capacity and at any level, serve my country. And well, fortunate and unfortunate incidents have combined, and here I am offering myself to serve the people of Corozal, to represent them properly in the National Assembly.
Gilberto, tell us a bit about what it's like to campaign. I think you noted that there are clear things that people may bring up on your campaign trail against the current administration, but this issue goes twofold. There's kind of the revelation of some of the misdeeds that happened in the past administration, and there's also a very critical look of what's happening with the current administration. How do you try to differentiate yourself in any way on the campaign trail? Is that important to you?
Of course it is important, and you're right, it's a combination of both. I've mentioned before in other interviews that the Corozal Bay, the electorate here is a very modern electorate. It's a very young electorate, but most importantly, very intelligent. I think that they have reached the point that they will not tolerate anything from here onwards, and not tolerate anything that is not in favor of the working class or of the betterment of the constituency. Yes, mentioning about the past administration, of course, as the mayor in 2018, I've always been supportive of the United Democratic Party. I'm a proud member of the UDP, but however, we in turn are going through changes. I am new to this level of politics. I'm offering to represent the people of Corozal in the National Assembly. I bring different things. I'm not I have never been at that level before. I think that I have a clean track record that speaks volumes. That is why I could have the face and the courage, and I could stand up and campaign on a house-to-house basis, meeting everyone in Corozal Bay with nothing, with my head held up high. That is the changes that we're bringing here in the UDP. And then you have a newcomer to politics like Roger Arana, who is the mayoral candidate, a very young, energetic, very talented, very capable young man, offering himself. That is what we bring. It's going to be it's a complete new day here in Corozal Bay for the United Democratic Party and what it is that we have to offer to the people of this constituency.
Does it change at all, when you think of by-elections especially, the biggest difference is you pretty much know where you're going to be in the House of Representatives. On election day, nobody really knows that, but you know you're going to be in opposition. How does that change the commitment that you can make to people when you go out to campaign?
When I say that the electorate of Corozal Bay or the voters of Corozal Bay are very intelligent, I meant that by all means. It's incredible to listen to the people of Corozal Bay. They have evolved so much from 2006 when I first joined local politics at the municipal level. One of the strongest messages that the people of Corozal Bay have for me is the fact that they are looking forward to proper representation in the National Assembly, and yet they are very aware of the fact that where I will be in the opposition. And incredibly from them, listening from them, that they are well aware of the fact that in any democracy, it's very important to have a certain level of opposition within the House. And that is something that we have to applaud. It's not the fact that it's not your party in power, you won't be able to accomplish this or that. It is totally different. It is we need someone that will voice the opinion of the Corozal Bay voters. In this case, we have had instances such as the reduction of the CXCs. I have never heard my opponent, who is an educator, say anything against that. And that is what the people of Corozal Bay are looking for. It is not only the fact that what it is that you could hand out to them, but rather how good you will represent them and will not allow the present administration to get away with anything that they have. It's very amazing for me to listen to that message, talking about the level of opposition within the House and the importance of it in a democracy. And this is coming from the Corozal Bay voters, not from me.
What has been the level of support you've gotten from the leadership of your party? There's a new leader at the helm of the United Democratic Party. There's a new chairman as well, notwithstanding the fact that you guys, as we all know, are in opposition. What has been the level of support that you've received from the Secretariat?
I've always had that support from my party. I think that, again, my record speaks for itself. I have always had the fortune that I was never challenged when my application went in as a mayoral candidate. And in this case, of course, I used to work along with the past era representative. And upon this unfortunate incident coming forward, I was the first one that decided that it was time to do something and to serve my constituency, my town. And the support of the Secretariat has always been there for me.
Now let's talk about some of the things that you hope to be able to achieve in Corozal Bay. You're putting yourself forward for as the area representative, very different from being a mayor, where you're kind of taking care of just some of the minor things to keep the municipality going. What are your hopes for Corozal Bay as their representative?
There is much that we could do together. I have to say that the municipal candidates, including the mayoral candidate, Mr. Arana, we're talking about Vanessa Brancharan, Cristobal Bab, Guadalupe Barahona, and others. They were people that were actually employed under the past administration at the municipalities. Most of them work under my administration. They are well aware of the capabilities and the degree of autonomy that the municipal bodies have. We have came forth with a pledge, a list of pledges to the people of Corozal, and that was an effort combined with, of course, my input and the Mayotte candidate's input. Together, we have different. We are well aware of the situation when it comes to the pandemic. We're well aware of the fact that the country is not in the best financial state, which is even more important to mention that we will have to be very innovative when it comes to working for the people of Corozal Bay and in turn to the people of Corozal Tongue. We have a long list of pledges when it comes to education, when it comes to trying to capitalize on the local tourism, on the national tourism, on making Corozal sort of focus to bring forth that specifics. And of course, after the pandemic, which we definitely look forward to more tapping into the Mexican market when it comes to the opportunities of bringing across the tourism from our neighbors.
How do we continue to try to resuscitate the economy of Corozal? I know you're talking about tourism. I know you're talking about perhaps other areas that we can bring together to kind of jumpstart the economy, but for quite some time, Corozal has been economically depressed, and it's something that you can't get away from because your party, which was the previous government for 12 years, had the entire country to deal with, but it seems as if though Corozal, for whatever reason, may have been left behind. How do you now attempt to sort of bring some kind of life, breathe a breath of fresh air back into Corozal's economy?
Well, I'll be honest with you. One of the reasons why I decided to run as the standard bearer, as area representative of Corozal is the warrior-like attitude of the Corozaleños. And that came up more evident these last months of when, during the pandemic, Corozal people actually have set an example of what it is to live under extreme conditions like these when the pandemic came on. We had started seeing different lives on Facebook, people finding ways to move the economy, to move forward. One of the areas that we in discussion with the municipal candidates, of course, when it comes to homemade products, the promotion of local entrepreneurs, when it comes to manufacturing local products, it's incredible to see that Corozaleños actually withdrew the positive side of a state of emergency as such, and the consumption of local products started to expand within the municipality. This is the type of support that we're looking for to give to the people to continue to encourage these consumptions of local products, to continue with the innovation that the Corozaleños have, and that is the way forward. Again, I mentioned that the present administration has done a lot of finger pointing. It's not time to finger point. It's time to find ways to move forward and to move our people forward. In this case, Corozal, I have no doubt in my mind that upon electing a new council, we're going to continue to revolutionize what we started during this pandemic to support the local entrepreneurs. During my administration, of course, as the mayor of Corozal of this town, I supported the ideas of the community, and one of the most successful one was the Art in the Park program, which was the brainchild of it is Deborah Wilkes-Gray, who came forward to me one day and said, you know what, they have this idea. And of course, by all means, we supported Art in the Park. It exploded like nowhere in the country had seen the display of artists, talented people, artisans, bringing out their things and to sell in the Central Park. Central Park came to life to a very high level, and unfortunately, it's there to see that the present administration just couldn't handle the levels. Probably we had set the bars too high when it comes to economic movement within Corozal Tongue. I'm not talking about Corozal District, I'm talking about Corozal Tongue. Remember that Corozal Bay falls within the limits of Corozal Tongue. In this case, I will be representing the people of Corozal Bay, which is only a section of Corozal Tongue. But all of these things happened during my administration. We had economic movement when we constructed the futsal court in the South End area. On the weekends, we had the activities with 300, 400, up to 500 people present. And that in turn created an economic movement when it comes to local food vendors and different stuff like that. Yeah. So it's going to be very interesting, but again, it's going to be such innovation that it will be needed, and we definitely have the talent. It's just a matter of putting our ideas together.
All right, Gilberto, we have just about 1 minute or less for this segment, and it's an opportunity for you to speak directly to the voters in Corozal Bay and let them know why you feel that you are the best candidate for them come March 3rd.
Thank you very much. I have served my people for 4 consecutive terms as the mayor of this town. Corozal Bay is always present in my heart. I am true and honest, sincere desire to serve the people of this place. Corozal Bay is looking for proper representation, especially in these times. After 100 days in office, the present administration definitely needs a higher level of opposition. I'm ready to be their voice to represent them properly, and I look forward to do that after March 3rd.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us, and please stay safe on the campaign trail.
Thank you.
All right. With that, we're going to go ahead and take a break. When we come back, while we talk about elections and budget, March is actually the month where we celebrate Women's Month and Child Simulation Month. We'll be focusing on Women's Month and some of the activities after the break. So please stay tuned.
Love is a connection that should last forever. This February, NextGen is sharing the love with amazing promo deals for everyone. Reconnect or install with NextGen for free. Sign up for our affordable cable and high-speed internet plans and get 1 month free on your acquired service. But that's not all. New and reconnecting customers can now receive 1 month free MyTV subscription when you sign up with us anytime in February. Some restrictions apply. For more information on our promotions and services, contact us at 0800-222-5388 or via our social media platforms. NextGen, powered by Central TV and Internet.
Es un hecho que puedes obtener servicios ilimitados con Smart. ¿Cansado de que se corte la línea cuando más necesitas estar conectado? Es un hecho que cuando te suscribes al plan de Smart Plus, obtienes llamadas, textos y datos ilimitados. Y también es un hecho que te puedes suscribir con un grupo de 5 miembros al plan Smart Share y hasta 40 miembros al plan Smart Enterprise para llamadas, textos y datos ilimitados. Smart tiene los verdaderos planes ilimitados. Es un hecho. Sé Smart y vive de forma Smart.
Why, Tony?
Why, Keith? What are going on, man?
We actually come see you because I need to buy a stack of them plastic plates and cups for my grocery shop because I run low.
Boy, I stopped importing things since April 15th, you know. And I just noted the last batch must have been like 3 weeks back, you know.
Man, do I usually have anything? What is going on?
Check this, right? Under the new law, we ban all single-use plastics, so that the cups, plates, forks, spoons, and knives, all of that. Since April 15th, can't import none of them. Starting January 15, 2021, you can't manufacture them. April 15, 2021, you can't sell them. And after July 14, 2021, if you get catch with any other thing, you will get fined.
Me never know this. I guess I have to make some changes then. I have to make the customers know that anything not available. Anyways, bro. Thanks, man.
No problem, man. Take care.
Belizeans will once again go to the polls on March 3rd for municipal elections 2021. Channel 5 will bring you all-day live coverage from all 9 municipalities. Our nationwide correspondents and in-studio analysts will provide you with up-to-date reports and commentary from 6 a.m. until the last vote is counted and results declared. Municipal Elections 2021, Wednesday, March 3rd, live on Channel 5 and on our Facebook and YouTube pages.
Today's COVID update is brought to you by Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price but stay for the service.
And we're back, and we are moving into a conversation about Women's Month. Of course, it is March, and this is the year where we celebrate and also shed some light on some of the issues around women in the country. Today, to have this conversation with us, we're joined by the Program Officer for the National Women's Commission, Eleanor Murillo. We're joined by Tina Gill of Youth Enhancement Services, and we're joined by Shania Petch, the founder and managing director of Women Wear What They Want. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Good morning, ladies.
And happy Women's Month.
Happy Women's Month as well.
Thank you, and same to you.
All right. So this would officially be the first Women's Month that you have planned, coinciding with the current pandemic. Tell us about what went into deciding on how you would celebrate.
All right. Well, we know we're in COVID times, and we still wanted to ensure that we do a good job as it relates to Women's Month and reach everyone. And so the planning committee, we sat down. The first thing we normally do is to look at the team. So we looked at the international team and UN team, and we decided on what would be best for Belize. We thought it had to be inclusive and ensure that everybody will feel a part of, because every time we celebrate an activity, it's not just for women, it's for everybody. So while Women's Month is really the celebration of women, it's also to include the entire population. And so we looked at the International Women's Day team that talked about choose to challenge, making change where, as it relates to gender inequality. And then the UN team talked about women in leadership, achieving gender equality in a COVID-19 world. The committee thought that if we chose women in leadership, it will definitely exclude certain members of the population. And especially the CBOs and the NGOs were saying our population will not relate to this team. So we combined the two teams to say #choose to challenge, where everyone can choose to challenge gender inequality in their own way, whatever it may be that you want to choose to challenge, while we're achieving equality in a COVID-19 world. So most of our activities centers around online virtual activities.
What are some of those challenges, though? I mean, you're mentioning choose to challenge, and we're pushing the idea of making things as equitable and as fair as possible for everybody. What are still some of these challenges that you're identifying?
Well, every time we do our planning, we always go back to our mandate and our national document, the National Gender Policy, which looks at health. We know health is an issue in a COVID-19 world. The challenges of getting quality health care at a reasonable and affordable price for women especially. We looked at education, the education system. And so while the data shows that more women are being educated, we still have challenges of those who cannot afford education. Violence producing conditions, we continue to see violence both at the level, gang level. We see it in domestic violence, we see gender-based violence. So violence producing conditions definitely continue. And then now within 4 months, we have 2 elections. So of course, we look at the political aspect of it, women in leadership and decision-making positions. So those are the main areas we look at when it relates to the women's work.
So
and also entrepreneurship and business and so on.
So the National Women's Commission is kind of like the coordinating agency for multiple agencies.
Yes, we coordinate and chairs the committee.
Yeah. So we have two agencies represented, Youth Enhancement Services and the new bit to the bunch. I must admit, Shania, we haven't heard much about your organization, Women Wear What They Want. Why don't you and Tina tell us a bit about what you do for women in the country?
Okay. Well, good morning. And it's actually Shania.
Shania, thank you.
All right.
Yes. So I founded this organization last year in 2019 when I was 19 years old. And basically I wanted, I understand my generation better. And we face different challenges when it comes to our mental health. We let things like discrimination and criticism of our race, our size, what we wear, our beliefs, all of that, all the discrimination that we face based on that, it affects our mental health. So that's what my organization does. We have models, actually. So we have a kind of a visual representation of, fighting all these things that we're discriminated against. So we have several photo shoots where there are themes that is basically fighting against what we believe in. So this shoot here is where is the follow-up shoot to a shoot that we did, which is called Don't Label Me, where each model held up something where they said, which was basically a label that society placed upon them then. And here we have different images from different photo shoots that we've done. So it's very bold, it's very out there, and that's exactly how we want it, because we want to get our message across that we won't be labeled, we won't let society define us, and that we are beautiful despite our race, size, our beliefs, and everything that society finds that they can discriminate us based on that.
Wow.
So yeah, that's basically it.
How is this received by the wider public? I know some of us are conservative to some of these images and what have you. What has been the reception in respect of this particular campaign of yours?
Well, the older generation is a lot more conservative, so they aren't as receptive of it as we'd like. You know, I've heard comments like, especially because of the name of our organization, Women Wear What They Want. They're like, no, I don't think that women should wear what they want. And our name doesn't say that, oh, you should feel so confident and secure in yourself that you should wear a bikini to work. That's not what we're saying. We're saying that you should feel secure in yourself and confident enough, despite everything that society is telling you, to wear what you want, you know, according to whatever the event is, you know?
Yeah.
So a lot of people have backlashed it and they don't like what it stands for, which just shows that we need to enforce it even more. That we need to say, no, this is how it should be, you know. And one of our the main issues that we fight is harassment, sexual harassment, you know. Especially for, actually all women experience it, and you know, a lot of things, the main question that is asked when somebody is sexually harassed or sexually assaulted is, what were you wearing? And that's a terrible question to ask, because that, first of all, it doesn't justify it, and it doesn't matter what you're wearing, really. You know, I mean, I've experienced it firsthand where I can basically only see my hands and my face, and I'm still, you know, being harassed when on a jog or something. And that just shows, you know, that it really doesn't matter what you wear, you know. And the name of our organization, it just stands, you know, that we as women are putting our foot down, that we are letting our voices be heard, we're advocating for what's right, despite those who may have a different opinion than, you know, that it's necessary, that we have to do this, so.
Well, Shania, I gotta say, you know, this is the first time I'm becoming aware of the work of your organization, and I have to say kudos to you. You know, Gen Z and the millennials have really taken hold of a lot of the work that has been put in before, and you're a lot more vocal and unapologetic about breaking stereotypes and gender norms. And that brings me over to Tina, because Tina, when you talk about the work for youth enhancement services, I can't help but think that, you know, this is kind of the product of what other organizations has been doing for a long time in trying to spread the education and empowerment among young women of recognizing their value and worth.
Yes, I really enjoyed listening to Ms. Petch, and I just kept like clapping my hands because wow, I'm just blown away. It's really exciting to see a young female taking control of her own body and her own desires for her own life. So kudos to her. Definitely going to look her up. But for youth enhancement services, we are looking at 3 components because we continue to build awareness, we continue to do education work, and specifically under gender-based violence and domestic violence, to spread awareness, because there's still a lot of societal strongholds in terms of what a male role is and what a female role is, and some of these stereotypes is a contributing factor for violence within the household and even at the workplace and so forth. So specifically, youth enhancement services, we are focusing on bringing education, awareness to public officers. So we have been working diligently with public officers because a lot of these public officers are the agencies in which come in contact with survivors of domestic violence and women going through domestic violence. And what one of our main focus is not to re-victimize the person who is experiencing these unfortunate events in their household or just out in the public. For example, I had someone commented something to me just because I was not interested, and he called the B word, you know. So we experience certain things just on a daily basis as women, and we have the right to decide what is best for us. Another work that the Youth Enhancement is doing is our campaign, which is the I'm Stronger campaign. The I'm Stronger campaign is a symbolization of hope, because there is a silver lining. When only a woman can determine when the time is right for her to make the decision to leave a situation where she's experiencing domestic violence. We can't force anyone to rush a sister along her journey, but we can offer support and we can offer our listening ears. And this is what the I Am Stronger campaign is about. It's about giving hope to women. And we worked along with some local artists, Miss Jackie Castillo, Miss Becky Stars, and the video and the song really coincide with the message that YES wanted to bring. So those are the area in which Youth Enhancement Services has been working diligently for the past year and a half under the CARS project.
Let's expand the conversation now just for a moment and take some time to talk about what's being identified as the pertinent issues for women in Belize at this time. You're talking about being in a pandemic. You're talking about the responsibilities that women have in being able to be caretakers, school teachers, work from homers, and several other things. So when you look at what's happening today, what are some of the things that we need to start discussing publicly? Eleanor?
Poverty. We know that a lot of women lost their job during 2020 and even now. And so one of the things that we're looking at, not only in Belize, but in Central America and the Caribbean, is how can we get our governments to ensure that a part of the budget is procured to do more skills training for women and have them do more entrepreneurial skills type of thing, so that they can be self-sustained, start their own little small business and expand it gradually, but not just give them money and leave it there, but it has to be a holistic program. Mental health is also an issue, like you said. How do we balance work? Still have to go to work, we still have our work at home, and then also the children doing homeschooling, doing school at home. So again, how do women take care of themselves, find the time to breathe, so that they do not, get ill, balancing all these things, especially now in COVID-19 times, and staying healthy physically, mentally, and emotionally. So I think looking at the skills training, looking at poverty, looking at unemployment, and also self-care is some of the main components of what we want to do.
If I can add as well, I think.
Yes,
go ahead.
Okay, if I can add as well, I think that it's very important for businesses and organizations to be very inclusive in terms of mental health services at their workplace, for in general their staff, but for women, because at the end of the day, especially talking about domestic issues, most of the time workplace would ask you to leave your personal stuff at the door and focus on coming at work. But the reality is there's so many things that are going on within a person's mind. So it's hard for me to leave, especially if I'm experiencing domestic violence at my home. it's hard for me to leave my what has happened to me. For example, some women could have been in a domestic issue the morning before going to work, and the emotional trauma that they have to deal with, covering their eyes if there's a bruise, hiding stuff, you know, trying to hide and mask what they're feeling. And I think that it's important for workplaces to start to include some sort of services where women feel that they can seek that type of service at their workplace to help them cope for the day. As well, one of the big mantle that youth enhancement services is taking up is looking at the Domestic Violence Act. In section 17, it speaks about the absence of applicants. So if I am an applicant who has made a report based on domestic issues, if I'm absent from court, then the court has the right to dismiss the case. But sometimes there are a lot of factors to determine whether or not a person shows up to their court trial.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard for me as a person to show up to face my abuser. So we're advocating for the state to take up the burden of making sure that these cases can see their ways through without the applicant necessarily being present. So that's one of the big things that we are looking at when it comes to Domestic Violence Act.
Yeah, we know we still struggle with gender-based violence.
Yeah. Would that mean perhaps a proposal to amend whatever existing legislation is on the books? Because we're looking at a situation where, based on what you're describing, would seem similar to being able to testify in a court without necessarily appearing as a witness in person, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
So are you guys looking at any form of amendment to whatever exists on the books?
There are ongoing review of the laws as it relates to domestic violence. Even when we look at the way they produce the data, you know, we want to ensure domestic violence not just becomes but to criminalize it more in terms of what the Domestic Violence Act states. Look at the case the other day where the man hammered that woman and then he still got bail. So yes, there are review of the different legislations as it relates to violence against women.
Now, I think we've taken some time to look at just the continued issues and challenges that you're working to overcome. But Women's Month is also a time to look at celebrating some of the achievements. Let's give Shania the opportunity. Some of the things that in today's world that you are optimistic about in being a young woman in society.
Well, one of the things that we often like to celebrate for Women's Month are all the achievements, you know. I mean, women have come a long way. The first International Women's Day that was celebrated in Belize was in the 1970s. And ever since then, we've come a long way, you know, economically, politically, you know, women are often more CEOs now, but it's still, you know, it could still go a long way, but still, you know, those are the things that we like to look at, you know, celebrating female entrepreneurs, females in the workplace, you know. So those are the things that we try to look at. And me personally, well, I have gotten a lot of backlash, but I've also gotten a lot of support. Mm-hmm. I believe I'm the youngest member in the National Women's Committee, and Miss Eleanor, and along with every other member of the board, they're very supportive. They've taken me under their wing, you know, they've helped to guide me, and I've been learning a lot. And I feel like we need to create a better environment too, you know, where not just in our education systems, but creating other opportunities where women can learn about their rights, about, you know, growing in a world and how to be more successful than as a woman in this world. So yeah, I think that's really great.
All Now let's talk about how we celebrate this month. Who wants to give the preview of some of the big events? We clearly can't go through all of them, but what are some of the bigger events that you want to tell our viewers they cannot miss?
Yeah, well, like we said, the celebration of women's, really the big event is the National Women's Award, where we award women from all over the country, from different sectors of our society, from every crooks and cranny of this country. And so we are really proud of that award ceremony. Last year, we didn't get to do it in person. Hopefully this year we can do it a little bit different, where we do have an actual award, because last year we did not get to do it. So right now we have about 16 women from across this country being awarded by different government and non-governmental organizations. And so, that's something that we look forward to. We cannot award everyone, but, a lot of women have been doing wonderful things, or frontline workers, or healthcare workers, teachers, the entrepreneurs, as Shania said, a lot of young women have started business, and we're so proud of them and rooting for them that their businesses will prosper and succeed. And so another thing we want to do at the National Women's Commission is to have a roundtable discussion with young girls, mostly at the high school level, to discuss some of these same type of issues and have them make recommendations to us on the way forward. How can we help you to do better? How can we help you to achieve your dream? What are the things you want to choose to challenge us as duty bearers to do? And so we're looking forward to those roundtable discussions with young women that will be held on March the 19th. The award is March the 25th. The Council of Churches and many churches will be having ceremonies celebrating women, and some of our other organizations throughout the month of March are putting out videos, like the police department will be showcasing videos of police women in action in different areas that we never thought that they are in, and so on. The U.S. Embassy is a part of our committee, and they too, have their videos where they will be showcasing women who have inspired them. The National Library Service across the country are also doing an activities throughout the month of March, showcasing different women in their communities, and also engaging the public as it relates to awareness on the achievement and women's empowerment.
Yeah. All right. Well, where can people access the calendar of events if they want to see what's happening?
The National Women's Commission Facebook page will definitely will have the activities. We'll be sharing it with partners who in turn will also share it through their social media, so that people can join in some of these virtual events and open events that are open to the public. And so, yes, we have the calendar of events, and we usually work on the Women's Month booklet, which also encompasses the activities, but also the women who will be awarded during the month of March.
All right. Well, ladies, thank you for giving us just a preview of some of the ongoing work that's taking place within your individual organizations, and of course, some of the things we can look forward to in the time ahead. Happy Women's Month to you, and best of luck with your activities.
Thank you, and congratulations to you too.
All right, thank you. And with that, we are going to go ahead and take our final break, and when we come back, we'll have our wrap-up, so stay tuned.
This COVID update was brought to you by Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service.
If we are only as strong as our families, businesses, institutions, and the communities that surround us, then by giving businesses the power to grow, entrepreneurs the ability to expand, and by giving our families the right to own something, the Belize Bank gives you the power to build a nation, our nation. We are stronger together. our country, your bank.
Everyone is at risk of catching COVID-19, so it's important to quickly recognize signs and symptoms of the infection. The most common symptoms are fever, dry cough, and tiredness or fatigue. Some people may also have sore throat, aches and pains, stuffy nose, or diarrhea. But a few people have also reported pink eye or conjunctivitis, headache, loss of taste or smell, a rash on skin, or change in the color of fingers or toes. Emergency warning signs that require immediate medical attention are extreme difficulty breathing, severe constant pain or pressure in the chest, becoming confused, unable to talk or move, bluish lips, face, fingers, or toes. For more information, call 0800 MOH-CARE. Help keep Belize safe.
Hello? Okay, sure, I'll be there.
Hi, Mommy. When are you coming home? I really miss you.
Hearing the voice of our loved ones can always lift our spirits and make us feel whole again. With Smart's Twice as Nice promotion, prepaid customers who make 5 minutes worth of national calls on Sundays can enjoy 50% off. Top double on all national calls for the rest of the day. Call your loved ones and enjoy half off all day long. Smart, bringing people together.
We're back.
Man, our discussion this morning, not the final one, the first two kind of reminds us of everything that we've put into election coverage and being on the ground. We just did this a few months ago, like 3 months ago, and it feels like we're right back at it again.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because one of the things we haven't really discussed or really gotten much opinion on is hearing from viewers themselves or voters themselves as to how they're feeling going back into another election so quickly after the last. I've been saying repeatedly, I just feel kind of a lack of energy with this municipal elections, and it's from both sides. It's clearly the political parties are not in a position where they can be pumping a lot of resources into campaigns. That adds to that energy. But also from voters, they're just like, oh yeah, election is happening this week, which is strange. But I am talking, of course, of just a Belize City construct here. It may be different in other municipalities.
Which was what I was about to say. I haven't had the opportunity to visit any of the other municipalities aside from Corozal last week. So I really cannot speak for what the tempo is on the ground in those respective towns and cities. But I mean, it kind of feels as if those things are kind of just dragging along, you know. We're wondering if people are actually excited about going to the polls a second time around, given the fact that we're still very much in a pandemic situation. On November 11th, we all went to the polls because we figured our votes count, right? And so we did that notwithstanding all the exposure that we would have had to COVID-19. But are we thinking then that this time around, is it still absolutely necessary for us to have to put ourselves out there? It's a question that we're all asking.
No, I mean, I hear your point, and I do want to be responsible enough to say that, you know, we do encourage everyone to make use of the opportunity to go out and vote. It is your choice as to who you want to be governing your individual municipality. But just looking at it from the outside, it is interesting. I suspect there's a bit of voter fatigue, and there's also, you know, November 11th, clearly now because we know the results, the impetus behind it was a mandate for change. You know, people went out because they had a message to deliver, which clearly they delivered. And I'm wondering if perhaps because there isn't that same driver for this election. Maybe that's why we're not feeling it the same.
Yeah.
We know naturally municipal elections tend to be, the close second, because there's nothing else, when it comes to elections. And it doesn't always generate the same amount of attention. But it has been interesting to watch. And it could be that everything gets into full gear this week, just a few days before.
Yeah. Well, I like what you had mentioned earlier, and I think it's a question that was posed to one of the two candidates that we discussed with. You used the idea of a litmus test, right? But it can also be viewed as a barometer, which is the same thing, to kind of measure, where we are in terms of the delivery of the promises that were made by the administration, and to see how satisfied persons are, the voting public is, with the delivery of those services and those promises made.
Yeah. So it is, and this is just from our observations. Of course, we do have our Facebook page and our Instagram page. You guys can let us know what you're thinking, how you're feeling about the upcoming election. Are you going to go out to vote? Are you encouraged to go out to vote? What are some of the motivations that you have there? It'd be really interesting to hear a bit of that, just so we understand what's happening across the country. But of course, on March 3rd, we are going to have our correspondents all over being able to show us firsthand what's happening in your neck of the woods. And tomorrow, we continue with our lead up to the municipal elections, as we'll be joined by the two mayoral candidates for Belize City. This is, of course, the final segment that we'll be having, as we've been to all the municipalities across the country, looking at what their mayoral candidate, what they're campaigning on, what they hope their slate will be able to deliver if they're elected come March 3rd. So you don't want to miss that tomorrow. But that's all the time we have for today. Remember, if you want to contact us, send us an email at oye@channel5belize.com. You can also find us on Facebook at Open Your Eyes BZ and on Instagram at OYEBelize. Remember to tune in tomorrow morning at 6:30 when you open your eyes.
To start your morning right.
Until then, keep your eyes, your mind,
and your hearts open.
We'll see you soon. Enjoy your day.
Open Your Eyes was brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.